Kenny Omega to Impact Wrestling on Tuesday night has been confirmed by Impact Wrestling. Yes, they have announced that we will hear the first comments from the new AEW World Champion Kenny Omega on Tuesday on Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. Now, of course, this past Wednesday night, AEW presented a special edition of Dynamite. It was called Winter is Coming on TNT, and there was a variety of news stories coming out of that show. There was the surprise debut of Sting, but arguably the biggest story was the new AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, defeating Jon Moxley for the championship. But Kenny Omega was assisted by current Impact Wrestling Executive Vice President Don Callis for the victory. Following the match, Don Callis and Kenny Omega got out of Daily's place very, very quickly, and it was announced by Callis that Kenny Omega would be headed to Impact Wrestling this coming Tuesday to discuss his monumental championship victory. Now, it's been very interesting about the latest developments when it comes to this relationship between AEW and Impact. We've spoken about this relationship a couple of times here on the channel. From what we have heard and from what Wrestling Inc. is reporting, the relationship between Impact and AEW is not currently scheduled to be that intertwined. Therefore, from what it's been reported, Omega's appearance on Impact this week will just be a one-off and not a regular kind of deal when it comes to Impact Wrestling. And it was largely done as a favor by Kenny Omega for Don Callis, who of course is a good friend of Kenny Omega. Therefore, Kenny has agreed to do the favor for Don Callis, and Omega has also requested that Callis worked as the commentator for his big championship victory over Jon Moxley on Wednesday. Tony Khan, AEW president, of course, apparently liked the idea and signed off on it. Now, of course, as I mentioned, it was announced at the end of Dynamite this week that you had to tune in to Impact on AXS TV on Tuesday to hear more about Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship victory, and it's been officially now confirmed by Impact Wrestling that the new AEW World Champion Kenny Omega will be appearing Tuesday night on Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. The Impact Twitter account announced last night that Omega and Impact co-executive vice president Don Callis will be appearing on Tuesday's show. This will be Omega's debut, of course, for Impact Wrestling. He's never appeared for the promotion before, and his first appearance on any show since he won the AEW World Championship from Jon Moxley on Wednesday night's edition of Dynamite on TNT. The tweet said, quote, "Breaking, we can officially confirm that new at AEW World Champion Kenny Omega will appear on Impact this Tuesday at 8/7 Central on AXS TV. Hashtag Impact on AXS TV." So it's a one-off. It's a one-off. I think people, myself included, thought that this was going to be a reoccurring theme, at least for the next month or so, or for however long this storyline and working relationship between AEW and Impact would last. It's not. It's a one-off, which is disappointing. We spoke about this relationship between AEW and Impact earlier today, so be sure to check that out. I hoped personally to see more Kenny Omega matches in Impact. I hope to see him have a match in Impact Wrestling. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it's just going to be a one-off appearance, probably a promo. I doubt he'll even appear in the ring on Impact on Tuesday night on AXS TV. I had hoped that Kenny Omega would make more appearances in Impact and possibly even defend the AEW World Championship. There was hype and discussion online that maybe we could see Kenny Omega defend the AEW World Championship at Hard to Kill, or maybe we could see a Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley rematch in an Impact Wrestling ring in the Impact Zone or something like that. There was even discussion that maybe we could see an interpromotional World Championship match between both World Champions of AEW and Impact Wrestling. Don Callis even retweeted an image of Bobby Heenan with Nick Bockwinkel, and the history behind that is that Bobby Heenan was the manager of Nick Bockwinkel when he was the AEW World Champion, AWA World Champion, too many A's and W's, when he was the AWA World Champion, and this actually led to an interpromotional match with then WWF Champion Bob Backlund in the 1970s, I believe, and it actually led to an interpromotional match between both world champions. First time that happened. Don Callis retweeted that, kind of implying that's what they were going to do. Now it doesn't look like that. It looks like it's just going to be a deal where Kenny Omega makes his first comments since winning the AEW World Championship. That's going to happen on Impact on Tuesday. And I spoke before that I really did feel like this storyline would be, after AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, I really did feel like this storyline would be that Kenny Omega and Don Callis screwed AEW, they screwed Tony Khan, and they stole the AEW World Championship and they took it to Impact Wrestling, and they were kind of holding AEW to ransom. They took advantage of Tony Khan, who the media perception is, certainly some people's impression online is that he's this billionaire fan who doesn't know what he's doing, he's too naive, he's too nice, and the old wily veteran, the Carney Don Callis, kind of took advantage of Tony Khan's generosity of allowing him to appear on AEW, this rival promotion. Then Don Callis was the one that helped Kenny Omega win the World Championship, and not only stole Kenny Omega, but he also stole the AEW World Championship. I felt that that was a really compelling storyline that could be told across both shows, across Impact on AXS TV on Tuesdays and on AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays on TNT. Nevertheless, it doesn't look like that is the case. I felt that to hold AEW to ransom by having their World Championship in a rival promotion would just be genius. It's something that we really wouldn't have seen that often, but according to the report by Wrestling Inc., it doesn't look like that's the case. Nevertheless, regardless of what does happen on Tuesday and what does happen going forward in the future when it comes to this relationship with AEW and Impact, it's a huge deal for Impact. This appearance on Tuesday by Kenny Omega, he's still Kenny Omega, he's still the world champion of AEW, the second biggest promotion in North America, maybe even the world, possibly third behind New Japan, that's up for debate. Nevertheless, it's Kenny Omega. It's Kenny Omega, the world champion, appearing on Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. And you have to remember the context of this. Wednesday night's edition of Dynamite, it was the Winter is Coming edition. It was a TV special. It had a big audience, 910,000 people live tuned in, probably over close to, well, at least close to 1.5 million on DVR as well. All watched that episode of Dynamite. It was one of the biggest Dynamite of the year. It was one of the biggest angles of the year in AEW. Arguably the biggest episode of Dynamite after the first show that they've done, and one of the biggest angles that AEW has ever done on their show in the 18 months they've been on the air. It was the first time that the AEW World Championship has ever changed hands on TV, free-to-air TV. It was the first time that Jon Moxley has ever had a singles loss in AEW. And after all of that, the cliffhanger isn't tune into AEW next week to find out what's going on with Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Tune into AEW to find out the first comments from the AEW World Champion. Instead, it isn't tune into AEW. Instead, it's tune into Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. That is a huge deal for Impact. That is a massive deal and a huge victory already for Impact Wrestling. So even if this appearance is a one-off, which it looks like, it's still a massive deal for Kenny Omega to be appearing on Impact. And, I mean, quite frankly, it has to be record ratings on Tuesday, right? It has to be record ratings for Impact on AXS TV. Now, is it going to do the ratings of what TNA Impact used to do on Spike TV back in the mid-2000s? Of course it isn't. Back in the mid-2000s, Impact on Spike TV used to get 1.5, 1.8. I mean, I think once they got over 2 million live viewers on Spike TV, that isn't going to happen on AXS TV on Tuesday. Nevertheless, I think that recently on Impact on AXS TV, the recent ratings have been around 120,000, 130,000, maybe even 150,000 live viewers watching Impact on AXS TV, which is good for them. I would expect maybe double that. Maybe I'm being a bit over the top with that. We'll have to wait and see. Nevertheless, you're going to be, if you're an Impact Wrestling executive or whoever, you're going to be hoping, look, we're going to be doing big numbers on Tuesday because there's this massive angle on one of the biggest Dynamites of the year, and it's everyone said tune into Impact on Tuesday. So there has to be record ratings for AXS TV when it comes to Impact on Tuesday. I mean, even when the announcement was made by Don Callis at the end of Dynamite on Wednesday, by all accounts, the Impact Wrestling website crashed. That's just the website, let alone watching the show on Tuesday. So it's incredibly exciting, even if it is a one-off. Is Kenny Omega going to appear in person in the Impact Zone in Skyway Studios in Nashville? You know, I don't think so. The reason I don't think so is because, of course, last week Impact Wrestling taped all of their content for the remainder of 2020 and actually some of 2021 as well. They taped everything up to the Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January. So unless they manage to keep a Kenny Omega appearance holding the AEW World Championship secret, unless they manage to keep that quiet somehow, I really don't think that's going to be the case. I would be stunned. It doesn't mean they haven't filmed it since then, but I mean, that's very time sensitive. It would have surely have leaked, even though there weren't fans in attendance. It would have surely leaked onto the dirt sheets, or people in the know would have reported it. They would have had to, and I don't think AEW and Impact would have risked that. So I think most likely this one-off appearance by Kenny Omega in Impact Wrestling will be a promo or a vignette filmed by Impact, and it'll be edited into the show, and it will have Kenny Omega with Don Callis talking, explaining their actions, etc., etc. Everything when it comes to Impact Wrestling right now is post-produced. They film all of this content, they edit it up, and they put it into various shows. They film it out of order, they do all that kind of stuff. They use various talent, various endings, various outcomes. Everything right now with Impact Wrestling is incredibly post-produced. So adding in a promo filmed over the last few days by Kenny Omega and Don Callis and editing that into the show won't be that hard. Of course, as I mentioned, they could have traveled down to Nashville in the last couple of days and filmed something at Skyway Studios. That's not impossible. But for a one-off appearance, would they really waste the time and money to do that? I don't know. So at the moment, it looks like we're not going to have a Kenny Omega match. We're not going to have a AEW opponent versus Impact opponent when it comes to Kenny Omega. We are when it comes to a tag team. We'll talk about that in another video. It doesn't look like we're going to have Kenny Omega defending the AEW World Championship at Hard to Kill or having a match at Hard to Kill in January, which once again, it's really disappointing. I think when this announcement was made and when it was revealed that there was this working relationship between AEW and Impact, there was huge excitement from fans on social media and online, and even those in attendance, right, at Dynamite on Wednesday. There was this huge excitement that possibly we could see something we hadn't seen before, and that's two major promotions like AEW and Impact working together regularly, sharing talent, sharing TV time, and doing something really special, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It doesn't look like we're going to get regular appearances by Kenny Omega and Don Callis on Impact Wrestling. Actually, it's going to be a one-off, and Don Callis is possibly going to be leaving the promotion soon. We'll talk about that in another video as well. There's so much to talk about when it comes to AEW and Impact Wrestling right now. So it looks like it's just a one-off, which again is disappointed. I really, as a fan of Kenny Omega, as a fan of AEW, a fan of Impact, and just a fan of pro wrestling and pro wrestling history, I would have really liked to have seen Kenny Omega compete in an Impact Wrestling ring once, just to say it happened at least once. To see an AEW World Champion competing inside of an Impact Wrestling ring would have been such a sight and such a unique moment that it would have been a lot of fun to watch. I really wanted to see Kenny Omega maybe compete at Hard to Kill. I didn't think Kenny Omega was going to compete over the next 6 weeks or anything like that, but I did feel like we would get some appearances, and it looks like it's just going to be one. I felt that maybe for a month, or like I said, 6 weeks, we would see these regular Kenny Omega appearances or promos in Impact. And a lot of people will say, well, you filmed all of the content in 2020. How could you do that? Well, as I mentioned, if you're going to film one promo and edit it into the show, why can't you film 6 weeks worth of promos and edit them into the next 6 weeks worth of shows? It's not hard. It's really not hard. A couple of hours out of your day, film these 10-minute promos or whatever, edit them up and put them into the shows. And next thing you know, you've got 6 weeks worth of Kenny Omega on Impact Wrestling. It's not that difficult to do. It doesn't look like we're going to get it. You could have done the whole holding AEW to ransom with their World Championship storyline, right? The Montreal Screwjob, 1997. Why did that happen? Because Vince McMahon didn't want the WWE Championship to appear on WCW. You can do that here. You can do the kind of play on the Screwjob, but not in the way that it's been overdone for all these years. You could have actually had the World Champion appear on another show. Think of how amazing that storyline could have been, but doesn't look like that. You could have had Jon Moxley invade enemy territory and try and get his title back, attack Kenny Omega in the Impact Zone. You could have had Rich Swann come out and say, look, there's only one world champion round here and it's not Kenny Omega, it's me. Then you could have a Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega match, do a big number on AXS TV again, have Moxley come out then and brawl with Kenny Omega, and that's it. And then you never have the Kenny Omega appearance in Impact again. That's the crossover, right? We see him in TV shows all the time. A lot of the time, crossovers in TV shows are one-offs, and you don't really see them again. But the way that this was spoken about online by other dirt sheet writers and by the talent in AEW and Impact felt like this was more than just a one-off, but it looks like it is going to be just a one-off. Nevertheless, you know, look, it's still a massive deal for Impact Wrestling. It is a massive deal. It's huge exposure for them. It's a shot in the arm when it comes to their ratings. Not that their ratings were horrendous on AXS TV for them, but it's going to be record ratings. I mean, it has to be record ratings. If it's not record ratings for Impact on AXS TV, then I'm sure everyone at AXS TV and everyone at Impact would be really disappointed, because if you can't get record ratings after the go home or going off the air cliffhanger angle that they shot on Wednesday, advertising it on TNT and all that kind of stuff, and telling viewers at the end of a World Championship change, tuning to Impact on Tuesday and hyping it up on social media, if you can't do record ratings then, you might as well just stop there, because it's not going to get any better than that, is it really? How else are you going to get massive ratings? So It's huge exposure for Impact. It's a huge name appearing on the show. And Don Callis finally did it. Credit to him. People laughed at him before when he said, look, if it wasn't for AEW, Kenny Omega would be wrestling for Impact Wrestling right now, or certainly would have made a few appearances. And people said, it's ridiculous, right? Oh, of course. Yeah, sure. He would have just stayed in New Japan or he'd have gone to WWE. Don Callis did it. He got Kenny Omega to finally come to Impact Wrestling. But this is just the nature of pro wrestling, and being a fan is you always want more, right? You always want more, and you always think, what could have been? And maybe, like I said, I've said this in a couple of videos now, maybe we should just enjoy it for what it is. It's a crossover we never thought was going to happen. Once Kenny Omega had signed with AEW, most people felt like we're never going to see Kenny Omega in Impact Wrestling. You kidding me? One of the biggest wrestlers in the world appearing in a smaller company like Impact, never going to happen. But we should just enjoy it for what it is. It's still a big deal. It's still a big win for Impact Wrestling. It's a huge chance for Impact. There is huge buzz and people will be watching on Tuesday. It's a huge chance for Impact Wrestling. It's a chance for Impact to say, look, you tuned in to see what's happening with Kenny Omega and Don Callis right now. It's now our responsibility and opportunity to give these viewers a show that wows them enough not only to stay with the show for the remainder of the show, but tuning next week and the week after that and the week after that and become a regular Impact Wrestling viewer. It's an opportunity. That's what Impact has to look at it like. Okay, we've got all of these viewers on Tuesday. How many of them can we keep? How many of them can we keep and make sure that they stay? So it's a huge opportunity for Impact. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Kenny Omega's updated plan for Impact Wrestling's appearance on Tuesday night on AXS TV? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, sharing about Impact, AEW, WWE, and all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to leave a comment below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.